Wizard101 is a wholesome virtual world for kids about cool wizards transporting them into a wondrous world of myth and magic. Spellcasting, mythical creatures, epic wizard battles, fantastical worlds, broomsticks, it has it all. The game has been going strong for over 14 years, building a dedicated and passionate fanbase in the millions. And in September of 2022, it made headlines. Wizard101 temporarily offline after disgruntled employee fills it with vulgarities. MMO for Kids shuts down temporarily after hacker fills it with nasty swears. Alleged disgruntled employee derails Wizard101 servers with spam and profanity. Reading these articles, you'll get a general idea of the story. It's the shocking tale of an innocent kids game being brought down by some shadowy hacker, or alternatively a disgruntled employee furious with the company taking their anger out on the innocent players. But what a lot of these articles don't include is context. They don't discuss the company behind the game, or the brewing tensions between them and the player base, or the fact that this whole situation was basically a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. They don't dig deep to find out who really did this and why, so that's what we're gonna do today. Consider this an investigation into the great Wizard101 hacking of 2022, how it happened, and more importantly, why. I also just really quickly wanted to mention, I have a new piece of clothing out on my store. It is the Edgy Cat Sweater. It's got blue sparkles on the arm and on the neck, and it's got this big embroidered cat on the front, this edgy MS Paint cat that says cringe but free. If you do want to grab one, head over to izzies.com. They are limited edition, so they'll only be in the shop for about a month, and then they won't be back. So if you do want to grab one, head over there and pick one up. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this, and now let's get on with the video. Before we get into things, I just want to give a huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you want to make a website for literally anything you can think of, Squarespace is there for you. They have hundreds of award-winning templates for all kinds of sites, and if you can't code, that's fine. But if you want to get more in-depth and customize things on that level, you totally can, and may I just say I'm very impressed that you can do that. You're like a real-life wizard. If you want to set up a storefront for your small business, there are tons of third-party extensions that can help you promote products, streamline bookkeeping, manage inventory, handle sales tax, and ship items across the globe. Running a small business is hard, and Squarespace makes it that much easier. You can create a community by adding a fully integrated commenting system that supports threaded comments, replies, and likes. Plus, you can connect with your audience and generate revenue with gated members-only content. You can manage members, send emails to them, and leverage audience insights all on one super easy-to-use platform. Squarespace also has blogging tools so you can categorize, schedule, and share your posts, as well as display posts from your social media and automatically push your website content to your social media. Basically, whatever you want to make, Squarespace can help you do it. Storefronts, portfolios, newsletters, a blog to put all your edgy warrior cat drawings, the possibilities are endless. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/izzies to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back into the great Wizard101 hacking disaster of 2022. Part 1. Wizard101 is a powder keg. Alright, so a little pre-story context. Wizard101 is an MMORPG aimed at young children and tweens, released in September of 2008 by a company called King's Isle. The game transports players into a world of myth and magic as they play as their own customizable wizard, complete quests, and travel to different worlds to meet allies and face off against foes. You get to pick a magic school for your wizard to join, which is basically a class of magic for them to specialize in. I always picked the School of Death Magic because I was just edgy like that. Real ones know about the secret door behind the waterfall, but there's also fire, ice, storm, myth, life, and balance. From there you can progress through the story. The main plot is all about this evil wizard called Malistaire that you're trying to defeat, but there are plenty of side quests and games and activities to get sidetracked with as well. The mechanics of the game are like a combo of a TCG and turn-based RPG combat. When encountering an enemy, you enter into a battle with them, which other players and passers-by can join, and then you use all the cards or spells in your deck to beat them. It's honestly pretty fun, and the unique mechanics are what drew a lot of players to the game in the first place. Now a little bit of personal context. Wizard101 is very near and dear to my heart. I played it religiously as a kid and even had a membership at several different points. Whenever I say things like that in videos, I always get comments that are like, you say that about every game that you talk about on this channel, something's not adding up here, and no, depressingly that's just how much time I spent on the computer as a child. That's actually why my eyes are square. You know, you can't see it on camera, but yeah, it's from looking at the computer too much. Anyway, I loved Wizard101 a lot, and there were a lot of blogs and communities dedicated to talking about the game and giving hints and tips and just discussing things in general. Yeah, I guess you could kind of say I was in the fan base surrounding the game. And all this is to say, you can trust me when I tell you the players really did not like KingsIsle. Looking through various Wizard101 communities, particularly the subreddit for the game, you'll find a lot of criticism towards the company for their various terrible decisions over the years. A lot of it is like, oh, KingsIsle used to be great, they've really fallen from grace recently, and I'm here to tell you that relations always felt pretty tense and players were always fairly critical of them. It's just gotten worse over time. So you may be asking, what exactly did KingsIsle do to harbour all of this resentment from their very own player base? I actually have a full Wizard101 deep dive in the works that's going to cover everything in much more detail, but for the purposes of this video, I'll just give you kind of a quick summary of some of the things that the community tends to complain about. Firstly, like many virtual worlds we've discussed on this channel, they have really egregious paywalling. And not just that you have to pay for cosmetic items and extra premium currency paywalling like Animal Jam and Club Penguin and whatnot, but full on pay to play. You cannot progress in the game and complete the story without paying money. Non-members can only play up to a certain part in the story before they have to start ponying up, and that paywall comes really early in the story. Many players have expressed concerns about this because Wizard101 does a pretty bad job of getting new players hooked into the story enough that they want to invest. A lot of players get turned off by the sudden paywall essentially locking them out of the game and just end up quitting. The cosmetic item shop itself is also controversial for being expensive and kind of dodgy with how they put together and advertise certain items and bundles, but that's its own whole thing. Secondly, the game isn't updated very often, and when it is, the players usually hate it. Bugs have been receiving fixes less and less often over the years, and overall a lot of players feel that KingsIsle has kind of abandoned the game as of late. You know how before we mentioned that whole issue of getting players hooked? Well, one of the most common bugs in the game is one that I actually encountered when I was filming footage for this video. So when you start the game, you play through this tutorial that teaches you about the battle mechanics. Once you finish the battle, you're told to wait inside this tower while the game loads, and oftentimes even after the game finishes loading, it will just keep you there indefinitely. I tried to restart the tutorial multiple times, and every time I was unsuccessful and I just had to make a new character and go through the whole thing again. This is a common bug, and again it's one of many ways that KingsIsle are failing to hook new prospective players in. There's a reason player numbers have dropped sharply in the last few years. Number 3, the support is generally considered to be poor, some players get banned for no reason, the company isn't very responsive, and from what I've read they often won't be able to offer much help if you have issues. And if you couldn't tell, players have issues. Now keep in mind these are just opinions held by some members of the community. I don't want to make KingsIsle out to be this evil company or everything. Not everyone feels this way and plenty of people love them. But from all this you can kind of get the picture. The community generally has pretty strong feelings about how they're running the game. So now that we've established the camel's back, let's introduce the straw. Part 2, a bunch of kids are scarred for life. September 17th, 2022. It was an evening like any other. Wizard101 servers were up and bustling, and the unsuspecting players were going about their business as usual, adventuring, questing, shopping, you know, the whole deal. And that's when it happened. That's when the messages began appearing. For context, admins are able to issue server-wide announcements within the game. They appear as these big pop-ups on every player's screen, and they're usually reserved for info about game maintenance or events. But this day was different. The messages ranged from nonsensical to rambling to outright offensive. The next world is my boss's asshole. KingsIsle is the worst company I have ever worked for. Touch the fountain to get crowns. We apologize for the ongoing issues. All impacted players will receive compensation in the form of 60,000 crowns. Oops, I lied. No refunds. Bradley, come down to the office this instant, the CEO. Come into room 102 and I'll beat you up. Split up and form teams in the team with the most people get their message sent. This game is shit. Fuck. Shit fuck. I fucking hate my job. Email support at Wizard101 so I can get a raise. My name is Walter Hartwell White. I live at 308 Negro Arroyo Lane, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87104. This is my confession. Guys, I need to run. The wizard police are after me. Dick and balls. The person with rogue access has been dealt with and will be taken care of. Fuck you, I still have it. Social media was soon flooded with screenshots as players live posted the hacking, and the news quickly spread. Soon, videos and articles were coming out on the disaster, and though KingsIsle scrambled to take the servers down, it was too late. The hacker was dubbed Server Dude by the masses, though a small subsect called him Bradley as a reference to this image. The servers remained shut for a few hours, and KingsIsle posted a tweet informing players of the issue before it was eventually resolved and everything went back to normal. So obviously not ideal. It's not great that young kids were subjected to this while playing their cute child-friendly wizard game. But there's a deeper mystery to dive into here. Why exactly did this whole thing happen, and who had the motive to do it? Well, let's discuss. Part 3, The Aftermath, or KingsIsle Scrambles to Save Face. On the 21st of September, around 5 days after the tragedy had occurred, an official statement was posted to the Wizard101 forums titled "A Message from KingsIsle, Wizard101 Broadcast System Breach. Community. This past Friday, the broadcast system of Wizard101 was illegally accessed to post inappropriate messages in-game as if they were written by a KingsIsle employee. We sincerely apologize for the unacceptable statements making their way into the game and causing disruption of your gameplay. We take great care in ensuring Wizard101 is a family-friendly game and feel disheartened when someone finds a way to disrupt that experience. The incident was quickly identified and steps were immediately taken to halt the behavior. We turned off the broadcast system and have added additional security measures to ensure this won't happen again. At this time, we believe that an external party initiated the messages through a non-traditional method of accessing the broadcast system. No other systems were accessed. As an apology, they gave every player membership for the rest of the month, which was nice but also kind of disappointing because it was towards the end of the month anyway. So obviously this throws a spanner in the works, or a broomstick in the works, or something whimsical like that. You have the initial hack, which was very clearly stated to be an employee, and now you have KingsIsle's official response, which claims that the alerts were made to look as if an employee wrote them. They blamed a quote-unquote external party that posted the messages through a non-traditional method. In simple terms, they were basically completely denying that an employee was involved. And this is a tricky situation, so let's go over both options here. Option 1, KingsIsle are lying to save face. An angry employee really did go rogue and they didn't want their company to look bad or negligent, so they lied. This is the theory that most people believe, and yeah, there's a lot of evidence pointing towards it, the most obvious being the server messages themselves, which very clearly paint a picture of an unhappy employee lashing out at a company that mistreated them. There's something that I've kind of noticed as a rule within gaming communities. There's only so much that a company can annoy a player base before they start moving on from complaining about the gameplay issues and start just digging up dirt on the actual company itself, and this has happened with Wizard101 a lot over the years. Now, all of these accusations and quotes that I'm about to read, all of them are unsubstantiated, none of them have verifiable proof attached to them, so take them with a huge grain of salt. Legally, they're all alleged, they're just things that I found the community saying online, so again, they're alleged, please keep that in mind. From a Reddit comment, quote, "I know the HR person for their studio, and what I've gathered is that they both over-monitor and underpay their employees. They literally lowball new hires as a criteria for hiring them, lowball as in under 6 figures for a software engineer, to even move forward with the hiring process. One employee even got told to lose weight by management, lol." From a post on Glassdoor, a website where employees review workplaces, quote, "Over the past 10 years, their 2-ish successful live MMO titles have declined in profitability and the company remains directionless with no sustainable future. Upper management is filled with sycophants and decision dodgers who form a wall of exclusion when it comes to making creative or informed decisions. Not a lot of organization or follow-up on projects until crunch time. There has been a lot of people leaving the company lately." So according to these alleged posts, there could be a reason for an employee to become frustrated and potentially snap and do something as rash as exposing a bunch of kids to a Breaking Bad copypasta. Additionally, in regards to KingsIsle's post, well, they have all the incentive in the world to lie about what happened. Why would they openly admit that a member of their own staff hated the company so much that they abused the admin tools to go on a rant about what a terrible company they were? It's not a good look, and obviously it reflects pretty badly on the company. Option 2, KingsIsle is telling the truth. None of their employees were involved, and whatever internal investigation they conducted confirmed to them that it was a hacker. A lot of people are quick to dismiss this theory for a number of reasons. Firstly, whenever some scandal like this happens, a lot of people tend to jump to the most extreme dramatic answer because they like juicy drama. And secondly, more specifically to this case, a lot of players found this whole thing weirdly cathartic and were actually kind of reveling in it. They needed to be humbled, hard eyes emoji. This is too funny, and I support this 100%. Fuck Clown Isle. KingsIsle deserves all of this. That shit was funny, LMAO. Don't even blame them if they're an actual employee. I'd quit too. KingsIsle is dog shit nowadays. All hail server dude. You know, you believe what you want to believe, and I think that a lot of players took this at face value because they felt wronged by the company and wanted karmic retribution. And what better retribution is there to not only be hacked, but hacked and trash talked by your own employee? But when you think about it, there's no proof that it was an employee beside the hacker's word, and well, why would you take a hacker at face value? A short while ago I made a video about the Norm of the North official Twitter account, which began posting bizarre, risque tweets and posing as an ex-employee gone rogue. And even though it wasn't real and was basically just a marketing stunt, people ate it up because it's an inherently funny and scandalous idea. It's really not a stretch to theorize that a hacker could have just lied and pretended to be an employee for the lols. But maybe it wasn't just for the lols. In fact, I propose that the motives of this mysterious hacker go a little bit deeper than that. We spent the whole first section of this video discussing how frosty relations are between KingsIsle and the player base and how frequently complaints are made about how they run the game. If it was indeed a hacker, it was almost certainly an experienced or even veteran player of Wizard101 rather than a random. The reason I say this is because all of the server alerts about KingsIsle and how terrible they are so similar to the types of messages you see on the subreddit and other forums that I can't help but think this came from a very personal place. The messages may not have just been intended to make KingsIsle look bad in general, but to kind of call them out in a very public way, basically to shine a spotlight on all of the issues that the community had been bringing up. According to the player base, they'd essentially been ignoring all the community feedback for years on end, and this could have been a way to force them to actually confront these issues in a publicly embarrassing way. Now, this isn't definitive proof or anything, but I think the way that the server alerts are written is interesting and may potentially point to the author being younger. The Breaking Bad quote especially stands out to me as Gen Z humor because the show is really popular with teens as like a meme on TikTok and Twitter at the moment. The spelling mistake is also notable, and even the way they wrote KingsIsle makes the whole thing feel a little bit off to me. But again, not definitive proof whatsoever. Different people write in different ways and have different senses of humor. It's just something to note. I also found a comment on the Wizard101 subreddit that potentially lends credence to this hacker theory. Quote, "Someone hacked their servers. They said a lot of vulgar lewd and even some funny things, but it was all a troll. It was not an employee. Source, I have a family member who works there and was getting live updates as it happened." Again, take this with a generous helping of salt because there's no source for this, and we've all heard the whole "my uncle works at Nintendo" spiel, so you know. Basically add salt to taste for all of these first-hand accounts with no verifiable proof, you know. Reddit is not a credible source. I originally went into this whole situation under the pretty strongly held assumption that it was an employee. After all, the screenshots seem to pretty clearly illustrate that, and all of the posts and videos and news articles I read about it boldly proclaim that it was an employee gone rogue. But the more I've looked into it, the more I'm convinced that KingsIsle is telling the truth. It really was just a hacker, in my opinion probably a player with a vendetta against the company. Even if an employee was frustrated, why would they risk not only their job but likely some pretty severe legal action to basically just post corporation bad, sad face? This wouldn't be the first time Wizard101 has been hacked either. It's actually pretty common. Maybe not on this level, but it's not some crazy stretch to imagine the system being breached by someone with hacking experience. They had the tools. They had the motive. All they needed was a time to strike against the innocent civilians of Wizard101. And strike they did. As of the publishing of this video, the culprit has not been identified, and honestly I don't really think they ever will be. They've disappeared like a thief in the night. Like a wizard in the night. And while I do personally believe that it was an unrelated hacker and not an employee, at the end of the day, with all the evidence that we have, that's just a theory. A game theory. It's still entirely possible that it was a disgruntled employee or even a marketing stunt by KingsIsle, as a few comments have suggested. Personally, I'd love to hear what side of the fence you guys fall on. There are a lot of different theories coming from people who both play the game and haven't played the game, so you know, whether you're a veteran player or you've played a little bit or you haven't played at all, given all the evidence, I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. I mean, like I said, we don't really have all of the evidence for everything, but I feel like there's enough to maybe make kind of an assumption on what happened, so yeah, generally let me know what you guys think. I'm very curious to hear kind of what the majority theory is. Thank you guys so much for watching, I really appreciate it. I hope that you enjoyed that video. Like I said, I do plan on making a full Wizard101 video eventually, but that one is sort of in the works because it's a little bit longer, but I really wanted to cover this one. This happened a little while back and I kind of wanted all the information to come out before I made the video, but it's such a funny story that I really wanted to make it its own thing. So yeah, I really hope that you guys liked it, and again, let me know your theories, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Bye! Wait, I forgot to do the wave. Bye! A huge thank you to my Garfield overlords over on Patreon: Test Subject 0089, Caramel Coffee Bean, Blue Mayfeld, Electro Kitten, Katrina Likes 5e Stuff, Fitzy, Jorge K. Cruz, Michelle Olsen, Matt LRJ, SHSL Sunsun, Doug, Jordan Nielsen, Dana Homegardener, Charlie B, Simon, John Leach, Ren Pendragon, Xavier Arajo, Helm Hamburger Hand, Dozo Blind, Sheriff Whiskey, The Fabulibrarian, Astrium Vortex, Jesse Chisholm, Grip Gunderson, and Joe Bradshaw. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. If you want to join these guys over on Patreon, the link will be in the description. And yeah, I have my laptop balancing on my knee right now and it's literally about to fall off my knee and onto the floor, so I'm gonna say bye. Bye, thank you for watching, I love you guys. Okay, see you in the next one. Bye!